yesterday's papers? Who wants yesterday's gun? Who wants yesterday's papers? Nobody in the world. After this time I finally learned. After the pain and hurt.
Welcome to the latest edition of Looped In Live. I think we're live, Lou. We're going to work on that.
I think you're on Twitter and YouTube.
Yes, we are on Twitter and YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've started a recording, so we're going to get the full thing up on Facebook eventually.
All right, we'll get the full thing up on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tim Wood, your hostess with the mostess, here on a gorgeous Thursday in Methuen, here with Lou Blassie behind the glassy.
Both doing a day game after a night game.
Yes, yes, good times, good times. We'll see how the hammies hold up. How are you today?
I'm all right.
So, want to tell you first of all, we are presented by Methuen Family Health Center. Big shout out to the folks over there. A wonderful resource over on Pelham Street for all your ailments. Great folks over there. They've got a pharmacy over there as well. We'll talk a little bit more about them later, but just really good people, and huge thanks to them for all that they have done to get involved with us here. So, Lou, a lot to unpack after last week's show.
Yeah.
What did you?
Yeah, the mayor and Deanna DeZaglione.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm specifically talking about the mayor.
Yeah.
What did you come away from with just hearing some of the things he had to say about the budget?
About the budget in general.
Yeah.
Or the police contract.
Well, that too. Yes.
Yeah. I think I think he was a little taken surprised by the police contract problem. And I think he was taken by surprise by the extent and scope of the police contract problem. And I think he's got a lot of issues on his hands.
That he does.
Yeah.
And you know, I appreciate him answering the question in terms of would you have, if you knew what you know now, would you? He gave the political answer, of course.
I'll give him this, and we talked about it after last week's show. He answered questions. There was nothing canned there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and for that,
he was forthcoming, and that was what he's walking in right now. He didn't have any canned answers.
And that's all we can ask.
Yep.
You may not like the answers.
Yep.
But that's all we can ask, and
I don't think he likes the answers.
No, I don't think he likes the answers. But here's what I'm struggling with. Okay. I can't get past the fact that all of those counselors, including the current mayor,
right,
had that contract in front of them. Now, I'm not a rocket scientist, okay, and I those figures jump off the page.
Yep.
So anyone who had taken a look at that contract and has looked at contracts before, as all these counselors do, anybody who looked at that would look at that and say, "What?"
Yep.
I mean, the numbers are just staggering.
Yeah, and the part that bothers me about it, and the mayor repeated the answer a couple of times, and I'm sure he's sincere in it. I don't know what happened. As I'm not a Methuen resident. I'm a Mass taxpayer. That's not a good enough answer.
No,
you have to know what happened, because you're right. That contract, I'm guessing a layperson could look it over and come up with problems, especially comparing it to other contracts. But there's supposed to be a framework in place on the municipal level, right? Where
Yes.
somebody who knows what they're looking at when they look at the contract gets to voice an opinion on it. Didn't seem to happen in this case. Or if he did, not everybody got the opinion.
So, and what happened? See, but what happened was, you had a mayor in place in Steve Zani who felt he could negotiate the contract largely as the lead negotiator, he was the lead in the room where he really shouldn't be.
Can I tell you something, though? And I'm not a rocket scientist, and I'm not a huge businessman.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily the sharpest knife in the drawer. But when I asked the mayor the question, who drew up the contract? Didn't know, first of all. And then we all came to the assumption that the police union drew up the contract. You're negotiating with somebody, you don't have the opposition draw up the contract. And that's pretty basic.
Yes. Yeah.
You've got city management in place. Contract's going to come from somewhere else, whether it comes from you or whether it comes from a third party or whether it comes from a state framework.
Or you know what? It maybe the first draft starts with the union, but then your lawyers,
right,
then your lawyers get your hands on it and
right.
rejigger it the way that the city needs it to look.
Right.
And so that's the biggest frustration is just not understanding where
this fell down.
Where this fell down. It's pretty clear where it did, but now we've got you look back at this September 18th, 2017 city council meeting. That's where the vote was taken.
Mm-hmm.
The first read, you've got two councilors, Jen Canaan and Jennifer Canaan and Sean Fountain, who abstain because they've got strong police connections. Okay,
right.
But the second reading was done in a special session the next day, and everyone voted on it, and everyone voted yes. So, yeah, it's really hard to get away from, and now we've got a situation. So
the mayor talked about procedure, and he talked about there's supposed to be a ledger sheet, a cover sheet,
yes,
which compares the previous contract to the new contract.
Yes,
that wasn't there.
That wasn't there.
No one.
And part of why that wasn't there was that the city auditor wasn't in on the negotiations, and so you've got.
He can be in the negotiations. That's fine, but he's got to overlook the contract.
Yes,
and he's got to have a say on the contract.
And he did. And this is also part of the problem. It's just there's so many different tentacles to this. He looked at the contract. He alerted folks in terms of what the contract situation was, and he alerted the mayor, and that fell on deaf ears. He alerted a couple of councilors who I would assume, and again, it's a big assumption. But if I'm going to talk to anybody about this, I'm going to throw up a red flag to anybody. It's the Finance Committee, of which that's Jamie Atkinson, that's George Kazanjian, and Jim Jajuga.
But regardless, here's what we know: the two councilors.
And again, that's an assumption. That's not that's not fact. Okay, so I want to make that clear.
But what we know, what is fact, is the two councilors who were alerted of the problems of the contract voted for the contract
and did not say anything in before the vote.
Two presumably, depending on what the council told them, presumably they knew the problems with the contract, they knew the numbers, and they voted yes anyway.
It's. There's just and now you've got the current situation. Okay, now you've got the current situation where. Here's what I reported in this week's Loop Weekly. Okay, according to sources, the mayor's team met with the Patrolmen's Association, and they basically were asked.
Can I ask what the downside is of having the city solicitor in on negotiations? What would possibly prevent?
From what I heard, basically he was going to ask too many questions. That's basically what I
It's not a bug, Tim. That's a feature.
Yeah.
That's exactly why you want him in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now you've got a situation where the mayor's team met with the Patrolmen's Association and basically said, come back to us with a proposal. The mayor's team said, come to us with a proposal that's going to work for the city. And what the patrolman said was, no, that's, and again, this is according to sources, but trusted sources. That basically what I've heard is that it was like, no, we're not the one. We have a signed contract. If you want to negotiate this, you start the You start the negotiation. You come to us with a proposal.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then you've got a situation
they're
where
not wrong.
No, they're not. The issue is, and we said this last week, and I'll continue to say it. Okay, I'm not gonna throw the police under the bus here. Okay, I mean, listen.
I give them a little leash, but
I will.
as responsible members of city government and responsible members of the community, I don't know. There's a point.
Yes, there is a point.
I understand the union's purpose and all
it's a
that.
short leash. You're right, but I still come back to the fact that if nobody's watching, and I am, and I've presented a contract, which was
I understand.
my proposal.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be accepted, but it's accepted.
And they say, yeah,
I'm walking away from that going, wow.
you can't really do anything else.
No.
If you're negotiating for the union,
for the union, if
and
it's
they
just
take your
you,
offer,
yeah.
you can't say, oh no, that's ridiculous. We're going to give you some back.
It's you gotta. I mean, there's just a lot of different things going on here.
And I kept asking about state involvement. How does the state which controls school budgets, that sets out a very tight framework for municipal budgeting?
Yes.
There's a lot of guidelines on what they can spend and what they can't spend. How is the state not a partner in municipalities negotiating with government unions? Because this is exactly where you want someone to say,
But
I don't think so, guys.
But it's a situation where the states are hands off and let the cities handle their own negotiations.
Yes, the state's paying for a lot of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one area where
By the way, this is some of these captains. This is state college chancellor. They make ridiculous money too, but this is state college chancellor type of range of money.
yes.
This is highest employees in the state type of money.
You're talking about highest employees, highest paid in the state, by from what I can tell in research, by a large margin.
Yeah.
And then you start comparing those salaries to salaries across the nation, and it's, we're up there. I can't, we found a couple of examples where they're cities that are,
Yep.
5, 10, 20, 50 times the size of Methuen.
Did he say? Did the number I hear in that interview a $13 million deficit? Is that what I heard?
No.
No.
The stacking is going to create. It could create a number of different
But he's
areas.
got a deficit for the
he
current
mentioned
year.
he mentioned a $3 million deficit with the school committee and
For the current year.
year with school, with special education being the large
Yeah.
tab on that.
Usually is. Yeah.
Yes. So, I appreciate thoroughly the mayor coming on last week. I'm not here to agree with everything he says. Okay. But I'm here to raise some questions. He answered a ton of them. We
Yep.
didn't even get to so much, and on top of that, there's great stuff happening too. I mean, the idea of the fireworks moving to the loop, it's going to create a lot more accessibility. It's going to be very interesting to see how it's pulled off, but I got to trust that they've done their due diligence in terms of not not spraying fireworks into the surrounding neighborhoods.
I feel bad to an extent for the mayor, but by the same token, he was on the council that voted for this contract.
Yes.
And there's a point. There was no councilor who would stand up and say, I want to hear from the solicitor on this contract.
No, at this point, no. And then, but see, here's the other
I mean,
issue.
that's a red flag in and of itself. The mayor went into a room and negotiated a contract without the usual safeguards. And
Not
by the
Mayor
way-
Jajuga, okay? We want to
No.
make that clear.
No. The mayor at the time went into a room and negotiated a contract without all the safety nets and without all the facilities that the municipality affords him. For example, a city solicitor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, from what I understand, the auditor
I'd have questions.
was in, but the city auditor would have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And, Tom Kelly's been at this for 40 years, and he's been through enough of these budget rodeos and enough of these union contracts that he knows the questions to ask. there's a lot of stuff still to come out here. There's a lot of there's a lot of hornet's nest ahead of us. Quite honestly, this isn't done. This isn't done. And
if the police don't want to give on this contract, and they are not obligated to do so,
and then you're talking about potential layoffs with the police. You're talking about potential. We're talking about potential layoffs within the school system. If we can't come to an agreeable number there.
And as the mayor brought up, this is a generational problem, because what happens is state pensions are based on several largest years of pay.
Yes.
And these pensioners are going to retire in their 40s and 50s. They're going to be alive for another 30 more years, taking more money on an annual basis because of the salaries that this contract provides.
Absolutely. I mean, this is going to cost. This is not a short term.
A lot of money for a long time.
And the part of the issue is just, and one thing I will give him credit for, okay, he proposed a short-term solution to the school committee with the student user fees, and he realized very quickly that wasn't going to fly, and he backed off of it.
Yeah.
So, hats off there in turn. He's just got so many issues right now. You read this current issue of Loop Weekly, our May 22nd issue. The whole thing that's going on with Wheeler Street. He's really on the wrong side of that. Yeah. From my take, and just, I mean, the citizens the residents of Regency were just completely thrown off at that meeting, because they'd heard from the mayor that he was supporting them, and instead he came out in support of a Drake-it company using Methuen roads, and concerned and very vocal in the meeting, concerned more about the Drake-it company's safety than the potential safety issues that they're causing to the residents.
Tough position to be in.
It is.
That's been an interesting story for a long time.
It has. It should have been resolved with the last administration, and it's lingering for sure. So, all right, we've got a guest in the on deck circle. Very, very happy to have him here. City Councilor Ryan Hamilton, the youngest member of the City Council. We will take a quick break, bring him into the conversation. Take a quick break on Looped In Live, presented by Methuen Family Health Center. Big shout out to the folks over at AFC Urgent Care. They've been big supporters of us since the beginning as the title sponsor of Ranger Nation Radio, and we are big fans of theirs. AFC Urgent Care, the right care right now. You'll never need an appointment. Got that persistent cough and cold, that cut that needs a few stitches, or need a sports physical and don't want to wait weeks to get into your primary doctor? AFC's streamlined approach helps you be seen quickly and feel better fast. In Methuen, in the Merrimack Street Medical Professionals Building, 380R Merrimack Street. In North Andover as well, in the Burton Grill Plaza. 8 to 8 Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 Saturday and Sunday. Go to AFC. Back here on Looped In Live, presented by Methuen Family Health Center. Let's tell you a little bit about Methuen Family Health Center and the pharmacy. Family is everything. That's why it's right in the name of Methuen Family Pharmacy, where you can get pharmacy services by the Methuen community for the Methuen community. You don't have to be a patient of Methuen Family Health Center to use the pharmacy either. Drop by 147 Pelham Street in Methuen right off exit 47 and get your medication from the friendly faces you already see in your neighborhood. Learn more at glfhc.org/pharmacy. And one other thing, if you're a patient of MFHC, if you're a patient of the health center, their clinical pharmacists will work with your doctors, nurses, and other care staff to make your medication work with your overall care plan. Plus, they can help you understand exactly what your medicine does and how it can help you live a healthier, happier life. So one other part of that too is they are now accepting the neighborhood pharmacy patients as the neighborhood pharmacy over on Cross Street has closed. So the pharmacy folks at Methuen Family Pharmacy wanted me to bring that up as well. So again, huge thanks to them for being the title sponsor of the show. Happy to have the always dapper dressed is that it's probably not the right, but dapper, let's just say the dapper Ryan Hamilton. How are you, sir?
Good. Thank you for having me here today.
Absolutely.
Trying to look a little older with the dress.
Yes.
That's what it gets me.
Get that right up to
There we
you.
go. I'll get closer.
There you go.
But yeah, thank you though. Thank you for having me here today. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
I got to ask, how old are you?
I'm 20.
Are you?
Yes, I turned 20 in October.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you would never, honestly, this is not to suck up to the guests, but you would never know it by your presence, Ryan.
Thank you.
And the way that you present yourself on council, and the way that you presented yourself during your campaign, you come off as incredibly informed, incredibly passionate, and really ready to dig in on the issues that need help. And that you just, I don't want to create you must get tired of this sort of millennial label or this label of these kids today.
Yeah, you know what though? I will say this. Dealing with the residents that have called me, that have emailed me, that's never come up.
Yeah.
It's never been a subject that's come up. It's
That's to
always
your
been,
credit, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. Actually, that was one of the things I wanted to say coming on here, was just how gracious the residents were to me, not only now that I'm elected, but campaigning as well. The one story I do like to tell, though, is the first house. I was on Butternut Lane in West Methuen. First house, the door I knocked on, the guy said, "Can I see your ID?" That was his first thing he said to me when I told him I was running for city council, and we all laughed. It was funny, and he was in good spirits, and so was I. And it's something that you have to take into account when you're young and you're running for office, that people are going to question you and question why you're doing it, because it's not every day that young people get involved.
Absolutely.
But it's something I think we're seeing more and more often, which I think is good for Methuen.
You look at the state representative, the state Senate campaign, the 20-year-old from Amesbury, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, Amesbury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, absolutely, it's a good trend.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of things going on. You're involved on the athletic improvement committee. You are on the charter review commission. Obviously on the council, and a full-time student.
Yes. Yes.
UMass Lowell.
Yes, UMass Lowell, and the economic development committee.
Yes.
And the soon-to-be waterfront committee.
Oh, yes.
Once that,
yes.
or task force, that's actually task force.
Yep.
Once that gets going, it's coming very soon. So, but yeah, no, and UMass Lowell. I'm a Riverhawk, and, having that break and kind of being able to go to college and have that break during the day from politics, I actually really enjoy it. It lets you kind of be somewhat different, because in Methuen, when you're a politician, you're always on. You never know who you're going to meet. You always have to be, I mean, for lack of a better word, you always have to be ready for the tough questions, for people to stop you wherever you may be. Even if I'm getting ice cream at JG's, they might stop me and ask me questions. It happens. But at UMass Lowell, I can really just kind of debrief and immerse myself within the culture of the university, which is it's a nice change of pace, I will say.
All right, so you've walked into a situation.
You can call it that.
That's probably the gentlest way to say it.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you just the same question I asked the mayor. If you knew what all was evolving when you were campaigning or when you were thinking of running last year, would you have?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I still would have gone through with it because, it's something, and I was listening to your guys' conversation when I was outside before I came in here, and, we inherited a tough situation, to say the least. But you know what? It's time to stop kind of pointing fingers and casting blame on people. And, I mean, I think the residents know how this happened, and they can make their judgments, and that's fine. But we were elected to fix it, is basically what it comes down to. We were elected to change things. That's the best thing that I heard when this new council got elected was, look at the amount of young people. It's majority female. Things are changing in Methuen for the better. This council is going to change things for the better. The days of same old politics are over. And I truly believe that's going to happen.
Listen, from already what I've seen from you guys, okay, just what you did with the board nominations and standing up to the mayor on that and calling out, that there's a rule in place, and that we've got too many folks that have been on commissions for too long, and we had one nomination in that was on the agenda, Ron Marson, who was a city councilor before, and there's supposed to be a 1-year grace period before you're appointed to any commission. So that was brought up. He was taken off the agenda, and then it was brought up in terms of just enforcing these rules. Yep. So, you guys have voiced your concern there. You voiced your concern on the Wheeler Street situation. You voiced your you stood up on this budget situation. How? So and I don't want to point fingers. Okay, I don't want to dwell on the past. I just want to make sure, though, and this was a big point when this was first brought up. I just want to make sure that we don't forget it either, because we've got to learn from it.
No, you're absolutely right. I was just going to say that we don't want to point fingers, but we also have to make sure that this doesn't happen again. That a situation like this does not happen again. And by doing that, we do have to look back and see what happened and correct it and make sure little things that went on won't happen again.
How do you, at this point, now you've got from what I understand, and Mayor Juga said this on last week's show. He said that he's hopefully looking to present this budget to you guys by the end of this week. Have you heard anything yet?
Yes. So what we were told as of Monday was that the budget will be available to us by end of business Wednesday. So yesterday. Yes.
And has it yet?
That I'm not sure of. I will be at City Hall today for the Charter Commission meeting, and that's where I plan on picking mine up. I know that the Finance Committee planned on picking it up yesterday, but I have not talked to any of them.
Okay.
So
how do you reconcile? And there are a lot of new faces here. How do you reconcile, though, that you have folks that vote on this council that voted for this? It's a tough one.
It's tough because, I truly believe that everyone on this council is there for the right reasons.
Yes.
They want to do good by the city. And, again, I just go back to, what I think it's the time for blaming and pointing fingers is over.
Yep.
I don't hold anything against those who voted for it. I think we all just need to get together and figure out a solution at this point.
And that was the one thing I will say is that was a different dynamic between the council and the mayor.
Yes, it was.
The mayor ran roughshod over that council in a lot of ways because of a lot of different factors. But you guys have already changed that dynamic, and to his credit, Mayor Jajuga has changed that dynamic in terms of allowing not. Let me ask you, how do you feel? Like, my interpretation when he said that he didn't want to, he would give his mayor's report and then he would step away from the meetings. He would have, his chief of staff, Paul Fahey, represent him. My interpretation of that is he's giving you guys more room to be you and to deliberate the issues without that looming that looming presence that could chime in at any point. How have you taken that so far?
I honestly, in a very similar way that you just stated, I see it as just from, I like to make comparisons, and from a federal level, that would be like President Trump sitting in Congress and basically saying whatever he wants when a bill is up for the floor. I mean, so I respect the mayor for doing that, and I do think it's a good idea, because it really shows that we do have two separate branches of government, and the council has its job to do, and the mayor has his job to do. And those jobs, sometimes they will butt heads, just like anything in politics. I mean, the council's butted heads. We've had 5-4 split decisions, and
absolutely,
they're tough votes. But you know what? I think the mutual respect from everyone on the council to their fellow councilors and the mayor is there. And I think that's why, you know what, even when we had tough votes, everyone respects each other and things go on. Things move on. So I think the mayor giving us that space, I appreciate it, and I personally like it.
How do you? You got the June 4th is supposed to be where it's talked about. June 5th is the public workshop on the budget. You've got the police contract situation where we're not sure how it's going to work out, but how Mayor Jajuga described it last week was essentially he's going to take it as what they thought they were agreeing to, the 0, 2, and 2. And he's working those budget numbers off of that, which could essentially mean that because you can't because
no.
it's an agreed upon contract. So basically he's going to, and again, I'm assuming just in terms of how that logistically would happen, he'd take money from the police budget to balance off these stacking raises.
Yeah, I mean, I don't envy the mayor in this circumstance. I really don't. You know, I don't know how he's going to do it. Like I said, it's tough for me to comment on the budget because I haven't seen it yet. I will hopefully it'll be available for me tonight, which would be great because then I can start diving in right away. But it's going to be a tough season. It really is. I think everyone knows that. There's going to be some very tough decisions made by the city council. But we're going to go line by line in the budget. We're going to do our due diligence, and we're going to do, at the end of the day, what's best for Methuen.
All right, let me ask the question then. Yeah, let's assume the contract stands.
Yes.
That was my next question, yes.
Let's assume the contract stands. The mayor's proposal is to take the money from the police budget to fund this contract increase. I don't know if that's going to fly either. What would be your proposal to cover this contract if we're working on the assumption going forward that the contract's going to stand? Where does the money come from?
Wow, that's a tough question.
Welcome to the job.
That's it. I like it. No, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. I didn't expect all easy ones.
Yeah.
You know, I would have to say it would have to come from the police budget. That would probably be my answer to that, because
is it there, however, because most of the police budget, I'm assuming, not having seen the budget or the contract,
already accounted for, essentially.
I'm assuming it's fixed costs. I'm assuming it's payroll. Much of the police budget is payroll, is it not?
A lot of it is, but then you talk about cutting positions at that point. Is really what
yeah.
you're talking about.
I mean, that's
will
tough.
The procedures allow you to cut enough? Because that's a deep cut.
It is, and also, I mean, we are very lucky to have the police department we have. I mean, they do a fantastic job, the men and women in that department.
It's the worst
and
part of this discussion,
exactly,
honestly.
and that's why, you know, it's your question. It's really tough to answer. Where are we going to find the money to that? Because I mean, I said the police department itself, but again, I haven't seen the budget.
I ask because I know what the normal answer to the question is. The normal answer to the question, where do we find the money, is the taxpayers.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's acceptable in this case.
And you know, it's tough. It's tough. It's similar to what you were talking about with the in terms of the schools and the user fees. You know, user fees themselves, everyone around us has them, and that's what makes Methuen different, and it's great. But I could get on board with a small user fee, and again, it'd be tough, but I could at least see someone's thinking if we had a small user fee, but it was going back to the athletic department. So
I mean, that's the issue.
Yes.
Is that the way this was brought up, it didn't feel like any of this was going back to the athletic department. It felt like this was just
that's
going
not
to
the
solve
purpose of
the
it,
budget.
Yes.
The shortfall.
Yeah.
Let me give you a hint on this one, and the mayor can't do it because he voted for the contract as a councilor.
Yes.
You can do it. Put the user fees in, but don't call them user fees. Call them police fees. Leverage. Mm-hmm. Because it's essentially what it is.
Yeah. No.
What, in terms of, so again, let me ask you, have you seen the police contracts?
I have not yet.
Okay.
I am waiting first to look at them to see if something can get done. It doesn't look like there is. So now with the budget, I will look at them because everything's been up in the air. So it's been really tough to dive into things like this because, again, you've heard so many things. Are they going to renegotiate? Are things going to stay the same? So, and it's the same thing with the budget conversation. Where are we going to find this money for these contracts? You know, again, my answer, I'm going to actually change it. I'm sorry to change it, but it's right now.
I like that. That's a feature, not a bug, too.
You know, right now, because I haven't seen it, I don't know, and I hate to answer that because I'd like to have answers for everyone. But again, until I see the budgets, and until now, once I see the budget, we'll know whether the contract will be included. But whether the contract has been negotiated down, then I will look at. Then now I can look at the contract and I'll be like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. Because it's just before I like to give answers, it's a pet peeve of mine. I do like to have all the facts. I really do. And when things are up in the air, like a contract, I hate to look at it, say something to someone regarding that contract, and have the situation change, because then people have false information. That's how rumors get started. That's how fingers get pointed, and that's just something I don't like, and I try to stay away from. So I just want to let everyone know that I'm not derelicting my duty.
And
I'm
I
not looking
think
at contracts, but I'm waiting till we have the set. This is what it's going to be. All right, let's dive in and let's get some work done and let's try to fix it.
Don't be apologetic for it. That's the right answer.
Part of the problem,
Yeah.
part of the problem is that no one's willing to commit to the numbers on this contract. You know, like
the
the
thing.
superior officers and the mayor's office cannot get together on what this contract would equate the salaries to, because you've got, you know, if I'm doing the math as a layman looking at this contract, and I have seen it, you're talking about $400,000 salaries, and not for the chief. You're talking about captains making, and again, that has not been confirmed. Okay, I'm a layman doing the stacking on this contract. A few folks who have seen this have come to the same conclusion, but they're not city officials that have confirmed it. So
if that is the case, though, we'll have captains making more than the colonel in the Massachusetts State Police, which again, you hate, because I have many friends on the Methuen Police Department.
same here.
And this is not against them. I don't want it to seem like anyone is persecuting them. It's the numbers. That's all it is. It's the numbers and what the city can do.
It's hard to say to a police officer that this isn't personal.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're not besmirching the job.
No, because they do a phenomenal
Oh my gosh.
job.
Yeah, I mean, and they are put in, with this opioid crisis alone, they are put into situations that previous generations of officers were never faced.
Absolutely. And they do deserve a raise.
Yes.
They do. That's another thing. They do deserve a raise.
But the biggest problem here, Councilor, the biggest problem is that you've got the city, you've got the police that deserve raises, you've got the fire department that deserve raises, public works, the teachers. Oh my! I mean, the school budget alone has taken a hit. Is the first place that seems to be taking a hit in every budget negotiation, and as a result, we are, and folks will throw this back. I mean, I'll say it first. We're about we're in some ways we're like 30% below funding of the state average. Now, folks will say, okay, you've got like incredibly rich schools that inflate the average. You've got some incredibly poor schools too, and that's why you do have an average. So, you know, to those folks, I'm just saying, you can work the numbers any which way you want. It may, 30% may not be a fair number, but if you take an objective look at the numbers, we are not funding our schools properly. And so you've got that on top of this. You've got the school committee asking for $10 million more over last year's budget. And again, when I'm looking at what they're asking for, there's no fat in what they're asking for. And they've made the cuts. They've cut down administrative costs. You talk about when you look at administrative costs on average with the rest of the state, we are the lowest. We are among the 5% of the lowest costs among administration costs. So when people say cut the fat in the administration,
what's there to cut?
Yeah. So this is all what you've got. This is all what's coming at you in the next 2 weeks.
And the concerning thing is there's no silver bullet to fix it all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the tough part is that, I mean, there will be departments, there will be people who aren't going to be happy about this. And that's tough for me, being someone who is a product of Methuen Public Schools and knows the work that every department in Methuen puts in and the great job they do, that there will be some very tough decisions.
When you look at this budget, are you willing to look at city hall positions as well in terms of because the mayor says everybody needs to share the sacrifice here.
I do feel as though that if we are making cuts, we should not specify on specific departments. This is a city problem, and that we need a city solution. I feel like cutting specifically, we'll use the school department for instance, if cutting only in the school department is not fair and it's not right to the youth of Methuen, to the teachers, to the staff, to the superintendent, it's not fair if we just specify this on one department, whether it be fire, school, police. Again, I don't want to specifically point out one department because, again, I haven't seen the budget.
Yes.
But this is a city problem, and we need a city solution.
Before we want to take a quick break because I do want to get to the other work that you're doing in the congressional races before. And again, this has been rapid fire. I appreciate it very much. Again, you're incredibly talented and intelligent.
He's handling. He's not even breaking a sweat.
No, look at him.
Yeah.
No, it's. Will you? Okay. Let's take a quick break because I lost my train of thought. Let's take a quick break. I want to just make sure we get the commercials in. We'll take a quick break here on Looped In Live, presented by Methuen Family Health Center.
Lying awake, intent and tuning in on you. If I was young, it didn't stop you coming through.
Everyone is cashing in on social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM Podcast Studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcasts. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcast. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
I love talking about my man, Val Davila. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now Right in Place Insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and Mapfre, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? Davila and DeFusco prides itself in having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 241-7950 for a free quote, or visit them online at daviladefusco.com.
You better speak up now. If you want your peace, you better speak up now.
Back here on Looped In Live, presented by Methuen Family Health Center, here with City Councilor Ryan Hamilton. Two quick things before we get back to the conversation. I just want to bring up next edition of Loop Weekly, we're going to be saying congratulations to all the graduates. The graduation is on June 1st. Our next edition will come out on June 5th. We've got something up on Facebook that will allow you to say congratulations to your graduates, whether it's high school or kindergarten or middle school, college, any level. Take a look at our Facebook page at Loop Weekly Methuen on Facebook, and hope you'll be part of that. And really, the other part I wanted to say, and I'm not a huge self-congratulatory guy, but I do. This latest edition was the first issue of our second year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I know what we've been through, and what I've been through personally, health-wise, and what we've been through just trying to establish a readership and a following among partners. I just can't say thank you enough, and I'm looking right at the camera. I just I get very emotional when we start talking about this, because this has been my life's passion to start a community newspaper, and to make it. I know a whole lot of small businesses don't make it even to a second year, so just to make it to this second year, a huge thank you to everyone. Yeah, in print these days, like people don't start newspapers nowadays. And people said to me, "You are crazy. You are an idiot. You don't do newspapers now." And listen, I've been in online. It's not like I'm oblivious to online. We have a very active website at loopweekly.com that goes in coordination with what we do with the print product, in coordination what we're doing with these shows. So, and a huge thank you to Lou behind the glass for just making these shows come off without a hitch.
No, we've had some hitches.
Well, you're gonna have hitches. Yeah, you're gonna have hitches. But just a huge thank you to we thank the partners. We thank a lot of folks that were part of this in the latest issue. You can take a look at that in this latest issue online and at businesses around the city. But a huge thank you.
But all people have to do is pay attention, understand how you've ingrained yourself in the city and the landscape of the city. And in a year with a print product, that's something to be congratulated about.
Absolutely. You've done one heck of a job.
Thank you.
Everyone at Loop Weekly has done a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. And we tried to, I think we got everybody in terms of who's been involved. I know in terms of just a special thanks to everybody in the community that's played a role. I know I'm missing people, and we just continued to add people right up until press time, and we're continuing to add people just to the online edition that didn't get into print. But there's just so many people to thank. So just a huge thank you to everyone that's embraced this, to everyone that stuck by us when we switched from mailing to just newsstand distribution and business distribution, and just stood by us as I had a health issue, and we had to take a little break in publishing earlier in the year. So just big things ahead. We've overcome some hurdles, and just a huge thank you to everyone. So, okay. One more question for you before I want to talk to you about your work with Lori Trahan. Is it Trahan or Trahan?
Trahan.
Yes. So, just try to put a little bow on the conversation. It's so many tentacles to it. But would you consider, there's this override that everybody talks about in terms of essentially a mandated, everybody says 2.5%, but I don't think there's a set number to it. Is there?
To my knowledge, no, there is not.
But essentially you can create an override that would be an emergency addition to taxes.
Yes.
Is that something that you would consider in the middle of all this?
Right now, I think it's just too early to tell. Again, not having seen the budget. If I, as a city councilor, I would lean probably towards no, because I think that's an option that, I mean, it's almost like the nuclear option. I mean, that's something that if you're in dire straits, that's something that you would invoke. But if I was advising the mayor per se, I wouldn't take it off the table. But as a city councilor myself, obviously there's two different scenarios. I would probably lean towards no right now. That would be my answer to it.
Part of what I see with it is you invoke that, and then the police get even more thrown under the bus here, and there's even more of a distrust on the street just in terms of the money involved here.
And that's the thing. I think it's just a bad situation to put yourself into. I think it shows that from a union perspective, I think they lose some faith in the city officials, and I don't think it would be the right situation right now for Methuen.
All right, so on top of everything you're doing, and listen, I haven't even talked the Charter Review Commission.
No.
We could come in a whole nother
I'll have to come
visit
back
and talk Charter Review. One thing I did.
What is this, like the 20th year of Methuen's Charter Review? How long you guys been doing it?
It seems like it, right?
They've
I've
had
been
a
doing
couple.
radio here for 20 years, and all I've heard about is Charter Reviews.
They've had some unsuccessful ones in the past.
Yeah.
It's been tough, and that's a really the good thing about this Charter Review is that we plan on separating somewhat the grammatical stuff of fixing the charter, that aspect of it, that won't go in front of the voters because there's no major change. It's just strictly fixing up grammatical errors and whatnot. But some of the major changes we may possibly look at in terms of making the mayor's term longer, still keeping the term limits but making it longer. That will be something that will go in front of the voters almost
mayor or city council as well.
They're exclusive. They're not. So if the mayor, say we move the mayor to 4-year to 2 4-year terms, that does not mean that the city council will move at the same rate.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say that that's out of the realm of possibility that the city council gets moved up. Personally, that was something at the last meeting that was up for debate, and I think we want some input from the residents to see where we might rule on that. But
now, if changes go before the voters,
yes,
will it be a package, or will they be able to vote on, for example, changing the term limit of the mayor and then vote against something else, or is it going to be, here's the new charter, you got to take it all or drop it all?
The answer to that is we can separate it.
You can separate
which is
it. Okay.
which in my opinion is good.
Yes.
Because from what I looked at from the last charter review, they had a lot of good changes.
Yep.
And the reason
But
that
some unacceptable.
yes, and one of them was term limits.
Yep.
Getting rid of them and having you can run for as long as you want. And I think that
Deal breaker.
Yeah, that is a deal breaker, and I understand that. And you hate to see a charter commission that would have done so much good sink because of one issue. So I think breaking it up into individual ballot questions, I think will be a benefit for the voters and for the committee itself.
I agree.
All right, I don't want to shortchange you, but we've only got 3 minutes left.
Oh boy, rapid fire.
Lori Trahan.
Yes.
Why are you supporting her for Congress?
Lori is someone that I met actually here in Methuen for the first time at Mayor Jajuga's, City Councilor Jajuga at the time, soon to be Mayor Jajuga's breakfast. And I want to say it was late October. And I met with her, and then we went out and had a conversation after the fact. And you know what? She's someone who has the experience in Washington and who is from this district, has lived in this district her whole life. And she's going to make a great congresswoman. She was a chief of staff to Marty Meehan. She worked in his office for 10 years. She always says she had every job in that office from the bottom to the top.
When you're chief of staff, you do everything.
Well, she started.
She worked up.
Yes. So she has that experience in Washington without being a Washington insider, which I think is really needed in this district. And the fact that she was there in a time in Washington when it wasn't a problem if you worked with the other side. I mean, she's a Democrat.
We got to come back to that.
Yes, exactly. I am a Democrat, but the fact in this, actually I shouldn't say that, the state at which Washington is in right now is a problem, where we're going to go Republicans and Democrats on both sides, and we're going to go to the corners and just yell at each other.
You've got a fundraiser on. You got a meet and greet, not a fundraiser.
Not a fundraiser.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. That's June. I mean, excuse me,
May 30th.
May 30th.
So it's a week from yesterday.
So if you're watching on demand, it's May 30th, 6 to 8 p.m.
Yes,
at Merrimack
at
Valley
Merrimack
Golf Club.
Golf Course.
So no charge for it. Just come,
Not
say
at all.
hello.
Yes. Say hello, meet Lori. You guys are all going to like her very much. She's a very, very, very nice woman, and she's going to make a great congressman.
And we've got her scheduled for June 7th.
Yes, she is very much looking forward to coming on here. and
Awesome.
talking about how she is going to help Methuen.
Is that June 7th? Yeah, that is
Yes.
the 7th.
I
yeah.
wanna say that's a Thursday.
Yep, Thursday. So we'll have her on June 7th. Listen, huge thank you to
Thank you.
for coming on. You answered everything. We threw a lot at you. We double teamed you at times here, and huge thank you to Ryan Hamilton, to Lou Blassie, to all the listeners. We had some Facebook issues. We'll get that up on Facebook immediately. You'll see the whole show. Come back next week. We will have a great Memorial Day weekend. Come back next week. Watch it on demand. And we will see you next week on Looped In Live, presented by Methuen Family Health Center.